Arya Bennett stood frozen in Lucian Moretti's private office, her heart hammering as his dark eyes locked onto hers for the first time. The most dangerous man in the city, a crime boss who destroyed empires with a word, was looking at her like she was something precious he'd just discovered. She was nobody. A maid. Invisible. Yet in that moment, everything shifted. He would soon own her life, manipulate her choices, and trap her in a world of luxury and obsession she never asked for. But first, he would save her dying mother and make Arya pay a price she couldn't imagine. If you're captivated by stories of forbidden obsession and dangerous romance, follow Arya's journey to the very end. Hit that like button and comment your city below so I can see how far this story reaches across the world. The grandfather clock in the east corridor struck 3 when Mrs. Caldwell's sharp voice cut through the servants' quarters like a blade. "Bennett! Office! Now!" Arya's hand stilled over the laundry basin, soap suds dripping from her fingers. Around her, the other maids exchanged glances, some pitying, others relieved it wasn't them being summoned. Nobody wanted to go to the 3rd floor. That was Mr. Moretti's domain. "Did you hear me, girl?" "Yes, ma'am." Arya dried her hands quickly, her pulse already quickening. She'd worked in the Moretti estate for 8 months and had perfected the art of being invisible. She kept her head down, finished her work efficiently, and never lingered where she shouldn't. The strategy had served her well, until now. She followed Mrs. Caldwell's rigid back through the marble hallways past oil paintings worth more than Arya would earn in 10 lifetimes. The estate sprawled across 15 acres of prime real estate, a fortress of old money and new violence. Everyone in the city knew the Moretti name. Everyone feared it. "There's a stain on the settee in Mr. Moretti's office," Mrs. Caldwell said without looking back. "Wine, apparently. You'll remove it without damaging the fabric. It's antique Italian silk." "Of course, ma'am." "And Bennett?" The housekeeper stopped abruptly, turning to fix Arya with a stern look. "Mr. Moretti is working. You will be silent. You will be quick. You will not look at him, speak to him, or acknowledge his presence unless directly addressed. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Because girls who forget their place in this house don't last long." The warning settled like ice in Arya's stomach. She'd heard the rumors, maids who got too comfortable, too familiar. They vanished from the estate as suddenly as they'd arrived. No explanations, no forwarding addresses. Mrs. Caldwell led her to a set of heavy oak doors, knocked twice, and entered without waiting for a response. The office was exactly what Arya expected: dark wood, leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with volumes that probably cost more than her mother's medical bills. What she didn't expect was the man behind the desk. Lucian Moretti was 32, though he carried himself with the authority of someone much older. Dark hair, perfectly tailored suit, a face that belonged on magazine covers, if magazine covers featured men who could order your death before their morning coffee. He didn't look up as they entered, his attention fixed on whatever document spread before him. "The wine stain, sir," Mrs. Caldwell announced. "I've brought someone to handle it." "Fine." His voice was deep, dismissive. He still didn't look up. Caldwell gestured sharply toward the settee near the window, where a dark red stain marked the cream-colored silk. Arya moved quickly, setting down her cleaning supplies and examining the damage. Fresh. Maybe an hour old. The wine had soaked deep into the fabric but hadn't fully set yet. She could fix this. Working silently, Arya mixed her solution: white vinegar, dish soap, and warm water in precise ratios. She'd learned the formula from her grandmother, who'd spent 40 years cleaning for wealthy families. The knowledge had passed down like an inheritance, more valuable than money when you had none. She dabbed at the stain carefully, patient and methodical. The settee was positioned near Lucian's desk, close enough that she could hear the scratch of his pen, the occasional rustle of paper, close enough to feel the weight of power that radiated from him like heat. "Don't look at him. Don't even think about looking at him." "How much longer?" His question startled her, though his tone remained flat. Mrs. Caldwell answered before Arya could. "She's nearly finished, sir. My apologies for the disruption." "I wasn't asking you." Silence dropped like a guillotine. Arya's hands stilled, her heart suddenly loud in her ears. She kept her eyes on the stain, on the settee, anywhere but him. I asked you a question. Now his voice held an edge. Not angry, worse. Curious. 15 minutes, sir, Arya managed, hating the tremor in her voice. Maybe 20. I want to make sure it's completely removed. Look at me when you speak. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to keep her head down and finish the job. But you didn't disobey Lucian Moretti. Slowly, Arya raised her eyes. The world tilted. He was watching her with an intensity that felt physical, like pressure against her skin. Dark eyes, almost black in the afternoon light, studied her face with the same focus he'd given those documents, taking her apart, cataloging her features, searching for something. What's your name? Arya Bennett, sir. How long have you worked here, Arya Bennett? 8 months, sir. 8 months? He leaned back in his chair, a slight frown creasing his brow. I've never seen you before. I work in the laundry mostly, sir, and the lower guest rooms. The invisible positions. It wasn't a question. He tilted his head slightly, still watching her with that unnerving focus. Why? The question confused her. Sir? Why those positions? You're young. Mrs. Caldwell usually puts the younger staff in more visible roles, serving at dinners, greeting guests. Because I can't afford to be noticed. Because I need this job and I know what happens to pretty maids in powerful men's houses. I prefer the quiet work, sir. Prefer. He tasted the word like wine. That's diplomatic. Mrs. Caldwell shifted uncomfortably beside the door. Sir, if there's a problem with Bennett's placement, there's no problem. He dismissed her concern with a wave, but his eyes never left Arya's face. You're good at this. The cleaning. Thank you, sir. Your hands are steady, patient. Most people would have scrubbed at the stain, damaged the fabric trying to rush the job. He paused. But you know what you're doing. Arya didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. The silence stretched between them, heavy with something she couldn't name. Finally, Lucian looked away, returning his attention to his desk. Finish the job. Mrs. Caldwell, you can go. She'll find her way back when she's done. Sir, I don't think... That wasn't a request. The housekeeper's mouth compressed into a thin line, but she nodded. Yes, sir. She shot Arya a warning look before leaving, the door clicking shut with a finality that made Arya's stomach clench. Alone. She was alone with him. Arya turned back to the stain with shaking hands, trying to focus on the work. Just finish. Finish and get out. But she could feel him watching her, not constantly. He returned to his papers, his phone, whatever business ran the Moretti empire. But every few minutes, his attention would shift back to her, a weight she felt even when she wasn't looking. You're afraid of me. Not a question, an observation. Arya's cloth stilled against the fabric. Everyone's afraid of you, sir. That's not an answer. She took a careful breath. Yes, I'm afraid of you. Why? Because you're Lucian Moretti. Because people who cross you disappear. Because you have more power in your little finger than I'll have in my entire life. Because you could destroy my life with a word, sir. I could. He said it simply, a statement of fact. But I won't. Not unless you give me a reason to. The stain was almost gone now, just a faint shadow on the silk. A few more minutes and it would be invisible, like her, like she was supposed to be. Do I scare you because of what I am? Or because of what I could do to you? Arya's hands froze. It was a strange question, almost philosophical, and dangerous. Everything about this conversation was dangerous. Both, sir. Honest. Something like approval colored his tone. That's rare in my world. Everyone lies. Everyone performs. Everyone wants something. I just want to finish my work and keep my job, sir. See, I don't think that's true. He set down his pen, giving her his full attention again. I think you want more than that. I think you're desperate for it. But you've learned not to ask, not to hope. Because hope is expensive when you're poor. The words hit like a physical blow. Arya's throat tightened, emotion threatening to spill over. How dare he? How dare this man who had everything, who was everything, dissect her life like some kind of experiment? The stain is gone, sir. Her voice came out harder than intended. May I go? No. She finally looked at him again, confusion and anger warring in her chest. Sir? Sit down. I should get back to... Sit down. Not loud, not aggressive, but absolutely final. Arya lowered herself onto the edge of the settee, her cleaning supplies forgotten at her feet. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Lucian rose from his desk, moving with the controlled grace of a predator. He crossed to the bar cart near the window, poured 2 glasses of amber liquid. Whiskey, probably. The expensive kind that cost more than her monthly salary. He handed her a glass. Sir, I don't drink. He settled into the chair across from her, his own glass cradled loosely in one hand. You look like you need it. The whiskey burned going down, but the warmth that spread through her chest was almost worth it. Almost. Tell me about your family, Lucian said. Sir? Your family. Parents? Siblings? Tell me. This was insane. Surreal. The most powerful crime boss in the city wanted to chat about her family like they were old friends at a cafe. There's not much to tell, sir. It's just me and my mother. Your father? Dead. 6 years ago. Heart attack. I'm sorry. The sympathy in his voice sounded genuine, which somehow made this worse. She didn't want his sympathy. She didn't want anything from him except to be dismissed back to the safety of invisibility. Your mother, he continued, she's sick. Arya's blood turned to ice. How do you know that? I know everything that happens in this house, including where my employees' money goes. He took a sip of whiskey. You send 90% of your wages to a care facility in Queens, the Riverside Care Center. That's where your mother is receiving treatment for stage 4 breast cancer. The room spun. He'd investigated her. Why? Why would he care about some nobody maid's personal life? The treatment isn't working, Lucian continued, his voice maddeningly calm. The cancer has metastasized. Her doctors give her 6 months. Maybe 8 if she's lucky. Stop. The word ripped from Arya's throat. Please stop. The experimental treatment trial at Mercy General could save her. 92% success rate for her specific cancer type, but it costs $300,000 and insurance won't cover it because it's still in trials. Tears burned behind Arya's eyes. She knew all of this, lived with it every day. The impossible choice between watching her mother die or drowning in debt she could never repay. Why are you telling me this? Her voice broke. Why are you doing this? Lucian set down his glass and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Because I'm going to pay for it. All of it. The treatment, the care, everything your mother needs. The world stopped. Arya stared at him, unable to process the words. It had to be a joke, a cruel game. Men like Lucian Moretti didn't save dying mothers out of the goodness of their hearts. What's the catch? She forced the question past numb lips. Smart girl? A slight smile curved his mouth. There's always a catch. What do you want? He stood, moving to the window. Afternoon light gilded his profile, making him look almost beautiful, almost human. I want you to move into this house, into my wing, my private quarters. No. The refusal was automatic, visceral. I'm not finished. He turned back to face her. You'll live here. You'll leave your apartment, your old life. You'll be available to me whenever I want you. Dinner, conversation, company. You want me to be your mistress? Disgust and desperation twisted together in her stomach. I want you to be mine. He said it simply, like it was obvious. I don't know what that means yet. Maybe you'll share my bed. Maybe you won't, but you'll belong to me. Only me. No other man. No other life. Just this. Just us. That's insane. That's the deal. Arya stood on shaking legs. I'm not a thing you can buy. Everyone can be bought, Arya. The only question is the price. He crossed back to her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Your price is your mother's life, and I'm willing to pay it. I need to think. No thinking. Decide now. His hand rose, fingers brushing her cheek so gently it made her want to scream. Save her or lose her. Those are your options. Why me? The question burst out, desperate and confused. You could have anyone. Women who are beautiful, sophisticated. I could. His thumb traced her jawline. But I don't want them. I want you. You don't even know me. I know enough. His eyes held hers, dark and infinite. I know you're scared, but standing here anyway. I know you'd sacrifice anything for the people you love. I know you're stronger than you think you are. And I know that when I look at you, I feel something I haven't felt in years. What? Interest. The word fell between them like a stone. Pure, undiluted interest. You're not performing for me, not trying to manipulate me or please me or gain my favor. You're just real. And I want that. I want you in my world, in my life. I want to know every thought in your head, every fear, every dream. I want to own all of it. That's not love, that's obsession. I never said it was love. A dangerous smile played at his lips. But obsession? Yes, absolutely. And I'm a man who gets what he wants, Arya. Always. Her mother's face flashed through her mind. Pale and weak in that hospital bed, tubes running into her arms, trying to smile whenever Arya visited, pretending she wasn't dying, pretending they had time. This was wrong, insane, a devil's bargain that would cost her everything, but it would save her mother. If I agree, Arya whispered, you'll pay for everything. The full treatment? The treatment, the care, the facility, everything. I'll have the money transferred to Mercy General today. Your mother can start next week. And if I want to leave, after she's better? His expression hardened. You won't leave. You'll stay because you agreed to. Because a deal is a deal. And because if you try to run, I'll find you. I'll drag you back. And then we'll have a very different conversation about consequences. There it was, the truth beneath the silk sheets and expensive whiskey. He wasn't offering her a choice. He was offering her the illusion of one. I hate you, she said quietly. I know. He didn't seem bothered by it. But you'll say yes anyway, because you love your mother more than you hate me. And that's what makes you perfect. Arya closed her eyes, felt tears slip down her cheeks, felt the last shreds of her freedom dissolving like sugar in rain. Yes, she whispered. I'll do it. Look at me when you say it. She opened her eyes, met his gaze. Let him see the anger and desperation and fear swimming there. Yes, I agree to your terms. Something blazed in his expression, triumph, possession, something darker. His hand curved around the back of her neck, pulling her closer. For one heart-stopping moment, she thought he would kiss her. Instead, he pressed his forehead to hers, breathing her in like she was oxygen. Mine, he whispered. You're mine now, Arya Bennett, and I take care of what's mine. When do you want me to move in? The words tasted like ashes. Tonight, pack your things. I'll send a car for you at 8. He released her, stepping back, already shifting into business mode. And Arya, don't think about running, don't think about backing out. Because the moment you agreed, your mother's treatment became contingent on your cooperation. You leave, the money stops. She dies. Do you understand? I understand. How could she not? He'd trapped her perfectly, with chains made of love and desperation instead of metal. Good. He returned to his desk, picking up his phone. You can go now. Mrs. Caldwell will give you the rest of the day off to make arrangements. Dismissed, just like that. Arya gathered her cleaning supplies with numb hands, moving toward the door on autopilot. Arya. She paused, looking back. You made the right choice. His expression was almost gentle. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but you did. She didn't answer, couldn't answer, just left, closing the door behind her with a soft click. The hallway stretched before her, familiar marble and paintings and crushing wealth. But everything had changed. Everything. By tonight, she would belong to Lucian Moretti. By tonight, she would live in his world, sleep in his house, exist solely for his pleasure. By tonight, her mother would have a chance to live. And Arya would have sold her soul to make it happen. The apartment Arya shared with her former roommate was small, a fifth-floor walk-up in a neighborhood that was optimistically labeled emerging and realistically labeled dangerous after dark. But it had been hers, a space where she controlled something, even if that something was just which corner held her second-hand mattress. Now she stood in the center of the tiny room, staring at the single suitcase on her bed. "You're really doing this?" Maria leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. She'd been Arya's roommate for 3 years, a nursing student with a practical streak and opinions about everything. "I don't have a choice." "Everyone has a choice." "Not when your mother is dying." Arya folded a sweater mechanically. "The treatment starts Monday. She has a real chance now." "And what about your chance?" Maria pushed off the doorframe, moving closer. "Arya, this guy is dangerous, like legitimately dangerous. You know what the Moretti family does, right?" "I know." "Do you?" "Because I don't think you do." Maria grabbed Arya's hands, stilling them. "They're not just rich assholes, they're criminals, drug trafficking, extortion, murder, the whole package. Lucian Moretti might wear expensive suits and donate to charity, but he's killed people. Probably a lot of people." "I know," Arya repeated, pulling her hands free. "But he's also the only person willing to save my mother." "So what am I supposed to do, let her die on principle?" "I'm not saying that." "Then what are you saying?" Maria's face crumpled with concern. "I'm saying be careful. I'm saying don't lose yourself in there. Whatever he wants from you, whatever he asks, remember who you are." Arya laughed bitterly. "I'm a broke maid who cleans other people's toilets for minimum wage. Who exactly am I supposed to remember?" "You're my friend. You're a daughter who loves her mother. You're a person, Arya, not a possession." But that's exactly what she was now. Lucian had made that clear. "Mine," he'd said, like she was a painting he'd purchased, a car he'd acquired, a thing. "I have to go," Arya said quietly. "The car will be here soon." Maria pulled her into a fierce hug. "Call me, every day if you can. And if anything happens, if he hurts you or scares you or anything, you call me immediately. I'll find a way to get you out. Okay?" "I mean it, Arya." "I know, I will." But they both knew she wouldn't, couldn't. The price of freedom was her mother's death, and that was a cost Arya couldn't pay. At 8 o'clock exactly, a black Mercedes pulled up outside. The driver, a large man with cold eyes and an earpiece, took her suitcase without a word. Arya slid into the back seat, the leather cool against her skin. The drive to the estate took 20 minutes. 20 minutes to say goodbye to the life she'd known. 20 minutes to prepare for whatever came next. The car pulled through the front gates, massive iron things with the Moretti crest worked into the metal. The estate looked different at night, lit up like a palace, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Mrs. Caldwell met her at the entrance, her expression carefully neutral. "Mr. Moretti is in a meeting. He's asked me to show you to your quarters." She gestured for Arya to follow. "Your belongings will be brought up shortly." They climbed the main staircase, then another, then another. The third floor, Lucian's floor. Mrs. Caldwell stopped before a set of double doors. "These are Mr. Moretti's private rooms. You'll be staying in the suite adjacent to his bedroom. There's a connecting door, but it locks from your side as well as his. Small mercy. You'll take your meals with Mr. Moretti unless he specifies otherwise. Your schedule is your own during the day, but your evenings belong to him. He'll expect you dressed and ready by 7 each night." "Ready for what?" Mrs. Caldwell's expression flickered. Pity, maybe, or sympathy. Whatever he wants. She opened the doors, revealing a suite larger than Arya's entire apartment. King bed with silk sheets, sitting area with a fireplace, windows overlooking the gardens, a bathroom with marble counters, and a tub that could fit 3 people. "This is..." Arya couldn't find words. "Excessive?" Mrs. Caldwell supplied. "Yes. Mr. Moretti doesn't do anything by halves." She moved to the closet, opening it to reveal a wardrobe that definitely hadn't been there this morning. Dresses, casual clothes, shoes, all in Arya's size. "He had these brought in today," Mrs. Caldwell explained. "He's very thorough when he decides he wants something. Or someone. Is there anything else you need to know?" The housekeeper's tone had softened slightly. "Any questions?" 1,000. 1,000,000. But only one that mattered. "Can I really lock the connecting door?" "Yes. Though I wouldn't recommend using it often. Mr. Moretti isn't a patient man, and locked doors tend to frustrate him." Noted. Mrs. Caldwell hesitated at the threshold. For what it's worth, I've worked for the Moretti family for 15 years. Lucian is dangerous, yes, but he's also loyal to the people he considers his. If you're truly his now, if he's claimed you, he'll protect you with everything he has, even from himself. That, Mrs. Caldwell said quietly, remains to be seen. She left, the door clicking shut behind her. Arya stood in the center of her golden cage, surrounded by luxury she'd never dreamed of, wearing chains she couldn't see. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Treatment has been scheduled. Your mother begins Monday at 9 a.m. I keep my promises, Arya. I expect you to keep yours. No signature, none needed. Arya sank onto the edge of the bed, phone clutched in shaking hands. She'd done it, sold herself to save her mother, made a deal with the devil and signed it in desperation instead of blood. The connecting door loomed in her peripheral vision. Locked now, but for how long? How long until Lucian decided to exercise his ownership? How long until he demanded more than just her presence? A knock made her jump. It's me! Lucian's voice muffled through the wood. Can I come in? Could she say no? Did she have that right anymore? Yes. The door opened. He'd changed since this afternoon, dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. More casual, almost approachable. Almost. You're here. He studied her, taking in the room, the unopened suitcase. Good. Did you think I'd run? No, you're too smart for that. He crossed to the window, looking out over the grounds. But I'm glad you didn't. It would have been unpleasant for both of us. What happens now? Arya forced herself to ask. Now? Nothing. You settle in. Get comfortable. He turned back to face her. Tomorrow we'll establish a routine, but tonight, you just need to breathe. That's it? You don't want... She couldn't finish the sentence. Understanding flickered in his expression. Sex? No, not tonight. Not until you're ready. And if I'm never ready, you will be, said with absolute certainty. But I'm patient when it matters. And this matters. He moved closer, invading her space with the same casual authority he brought to everything. His hand rose, fingers tangling in her hair. I know you hate me right now, he murmured. I know you think I'm a monster, and maybe I am. But I'll take care of you, Arya. Better than anyone else ever could. You'll never want for anything, never worry about money or safety or your mother's health. All you have to do is be mine. I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do. You're already doing it. What? His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Just exist. Be here. Be real with me. That's all I want. You want my soul. Yes. No hesitation, no apology. Every piece of it. He leaned down, pressed his lips to her forehead. The gesture was almost tender, which somehow made it worse. Sleep well, Arya. Tomorrow, your new life begins. He left through the connecting door, closing it softly behind him. Arya stared at that door for a long time, listening to the sound of him moving around in the next room. Her mother would live. That was what mattered. Whatever price Arya had to pay, however much of herself she had to surrender, it was worth it. It had to be worth it. She changed into pajamas, climbed between silk sheets that cost more than she made in a month, and stared at the ceiling of her beautiful prison. Tomorrow her mother would get the call about her treatment. Tomorrow Arya would wake up as Lucian Moretti's possession. Tomorrow her old life would be truly, completely over. But tonight, just for tonight, she let herself cry. Arya woke to sunlight streaming through windows she didn't recognize, in a bed far too soft to be her own. For one blissful moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory crashed back like a wave and her stomach twisted into knots. The Moretti estate. Lucian's wing, her golden cage. She sat up slowly, taking in the suite with fresh eyes. Someone had unpacked her suitcase while she slept. Her meager belongings looked almost pathetic hanging in that enormous closet next to the designer clothes Lucian had provided. A breakfast tray sat on the table by the window, steam still rising from the coffee cup. How had someone come in without waking her? How long had they been watching her sleep? The connecting door remained closed. No sounds came from Lucian's room. Maybe he'd already left for whatever mysterious business consumed his days. Arya showered in the marble bathroom, dressed in her own jeans and sweater, small acts of defiance that made her feel slightly more human. The breakfast was elaborate, fresh fruit, pastries, eggs prepared perfectly. She forced herself to eat, knowing she'd need strength for whatever this day held. At 9 o'clock, someone knocked. Not Lucian. A young woman Arya vaguely recognized from the estate staff stood in the hallway, her expression carefully professional. "Miss Bennett? Mr. Moretti would like you to join him in the garden." "The garden?" "Yes, miss. I'll show you the way." Arya followed her through the sprawling house, down corridors she'd never seen as a maid. They emerged onto a stone terrace that overlooked acres of manicured grounds. Lucian sat at an iron table beneath a pergola covered in climbing roses, reading something on his tablet. He looked up as she approached, and something in his expression softened. "You slept well?" he asked. "Well enough." She remained standing, unsure if she was allowed to sit without permission. He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit, please. I'm not going to bark orders at you, Arya. This isn't the military." She sat, hyper-aware of his gaze tracking her every movement. "Your mother received the call this morning," he said. "The treatment center confirmed her slot. She starts Monday as promised." Relief flooded through her, so intense it almost hurt. "Thank you." "You don't need to thank me. We have an agreement. I'm simply holding up my end." He set down the tablet, giving her his full attention. "How do you feel about all of this?" "Honestly?" "Always honestly." "Terrified, angry, grateful, I don't know, everything at once." The words spilled out before she could stop them. "I feel like I sold my soul, but I'd do it again because my mother gets to live. So what does that make me?" "Human." He said it simply. "It makes you human. Anyone who wouldn't make that choice, who'd let their mother die to preserve some abstract concept of freedom, that's who you should be afraid of." "Is that supposed to make me feel better?" "It's supposed to be the truth." He poured her coffee from the carafe on the table. "I don't deal in comforting lies, Arya. You'll never have to wonder if I'm being honest with you. I'll tell you exactly what I think, what I want, what I expect. The clarity might be brutal sometimes, but at least you'll always know where you stand." She accepted the coffee, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. "And where do I stand?" "With me. Next to me. Eventually, I hope, beside me in every sense." He leaned back, studying her. "I know this is overwhelming. Everything's changed for you in less than 24 hours. So here's what's going to happen. Today, we talk. I want to know you, really know you. Your favorite books, your worst fears, what makes you laugh, all of it." "Why?" "Because you're mine now, and I take care of what's mine. I can't do that if I don't understand you." There was that word again. Mine. Possessive and absolute. "What if I don't want to talk about myself?" "Then we'll sit in silence until you do." He smiled slightly. "I'm very patient when I want to be." They sat there in the garden for hours. At first, Arya answered his questions with single words, guarded and terse. But Lucian didn't push. He asked about small things. Did she prefer coffee or tea, morning or evening, summer or winter? Unthreatening questions that slowly loosened the knot in her chest. Eventually, she found herself talking about her childhood in Queens, her father's sudden death, the years of watching her mother work 3 jobs to keep them afloat. About community college classes she'd had to abandon when the money ran out. About the small dreams she'd tucked away like fragile things, knowing they'd never survive the harsh light of reality. Lucian listened to every word with that intense focus he brought to everything. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer platitudes, just listened. "You wanted to be a teacher," he said, when she finally ran out of words. "A long time ago, before I understood how the world works. The world works however I say it works." He said it without arrogance, just fact. "If you want to finish your degree, you will. I'll arrange it." "Just like that?" "Just like that." "And what would you want in return?" "Nothing. Your education doesn't threaten me, Arya. I want you smart, fulfilled, happy. Miserable possessions lose their appeal quickly." The casual way he said it, comparing her to a possession, should have made her angry. Instead, she felt something else. Curiosity, maybe. Or the dangerous beginning of understanding. "Can I ask you something?" she ventured. "Anything." "Why me? Really? You said yesterday that I'm real, that I don't perform for you. But that can't be the whole reason. You could have anyone." Lucian was quiet for a long moment, his gaze distant. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight she hadn't heard before. 4 months ago, I had to kill a man, someone who'd betrayed my family, stolen from us. He begged, offered me everything, money, information, his own daughter as collateral. He looked at her, his expression unreadable. I felt nothing, not anger, not satisfaction, nothing. I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt anything real. He stood, moving to the edge of the terrace. Everyone in my world wants something, power, money, protection. They smile and lie and scheme. They'd slit my throat if they thought they could get away with it. And I know this. I expect it. But it also means I'm surrounded by people who aren't really people. They're just collections of ambitions wearing human faces. And I'm different because I'm poor? Arya couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. You're different because you're honest about your desperation. You didn't come to me with seduction or manipulation. You stood in my office scared and angry, and you told me the truth. You're afraid of me. You need the money. You hate that I have this power over you. All of it real. All of it refreshingly, brutally honest. He turned back to face her. That's what I want. That honesty. That reality. Even if it means you hate me. I don't hate you. The words surprised her even as she said them. I want to. It would be easier if I did, but I don't. What do you feel? Confused, scared, like I'm standing at the edge of something I don't understand. Good. He returned to his seat. Because I'm right there with you. I don't understand this either. I just know I want it. Over the following days, a strange routine developed. Arya had freedom during the daytime. She could roam the estate, read in the library, even leave the grounds if she wished, though a security detail always followed at a discreet distance. But evenings belonged to Lucian. They had dinner together every night in his private dining room. Sometimes they talked for hours. Other times they ate in companionable silence. He asked her opinions on everything, politics, art, the books she was reading, and he listened. Actually listened, like her thoughts mattered. He was slowly, methodically learning every part of her. You're trying to catalog me, she said one evening, watching him over the rim of her wine glass, like I'm a puzzle you are solving. Is that so wrong? It's unsettling. I feel like I'm being studied. You are. He didn't deny it. But you're studying me too. I see you watching when you think I'm not looking, trying to figure me out. It was true. She'd become fascinated by his contradictions. The way he could order someone's death over breakfast, then spend an hour helping her mother's care team coordinate her treatment schedule. The careful gentleness of his hands when he touched her, always brief, always restrained, versus the violence she knew lived beneath his surface. You confuse me, she admitted. How? You're capable of terrible things. I know you are. But you're also... She struggled for the word. Kind, sometimes, in strange ways. I'm capable of both. Most people are, if they're honest. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. The difference is, I don't pretend otherwise. I don't dress up violence in morality or justify cruelty with noble causes. I do what I do because it serves my interests, including being kind to you. So your kindness is just strategy? My kindness toward you is self-interest. I want you comfortable, healthy, trusting me. That serves my goals. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. But it's also real. Both things can be true. 3 weeks into her new life, Arya's mother called, her voice stronger than it had been in months. Sweetheart, I don't know what you did, but this treatment, it's working. The doctors say the tumors are shrinking. They're actually shrinking. Arya closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. That's wonderful, Mom. But honey, this must have cost a fortune. How did you... I got a new position. Better pay. It's all taken care of. The lie tasted like ash, but what else could she say? Your daughter sold herself to a crime lord to save your life. Don't worry about it. I'm so proud of you, her mother said. So proud of the woman you've become. When the call ended, Arya sat in her room and cried. Relief and guilt and gratitude tangled together until she couldn't separate them. A knock on the connecting door. Lucian's voice, concerned. Arya, are you all right? She opened the door. He took one look at her tear-stained face and pulled her into his arms without a word. She stiffened initially, then slowly relaxed into his embrace. He was warm, solid, real. His hand stroked her hair gently. "She's getting better," Arya whispered against his chest. "The treatment's working." "I know. I spoke with her doctors this morning." Of course he did. He monitored everything about her life. "Thank you," she said, "for keeping your promise." "I always keep my promises, Arya. The good ones and the terrible ones." He tilted her face up, his thumb brushing away her tears. "You're not alone in this. Whatever you're feeling, the guilt, the confusion, you don't have to carry it alone. You're the reason I'm feeling it. I know, but I'm also the only one who can understand it." His gaze dropped to her lips, and for one breathless moment she thought he would kiss her. Instead, he released her, stepping back. "Get some rest. Tomorrow I want to show you something." The next day, Lucian took her into the city in his private car. They drove to the financial district, stopping at a building Arya recognized from news reports. Moretti Holdings, the legitimate face of his empire. "Why are we here?" she asked as they rode the elevator to the top floor. "Because I want you to see all of me, not just the parts that exist in that house." The elevator opened onto a suite of offices that screamed power and money. Employees straightened as Lucian passed, their greetings respectful and nervous. He led her to a massive corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "This is where I spend most of my days, running the legitimate businesses, real estate, investments, development projects." "The legal side of illegal money," Arya said. "Essentially, yes." He moved to the window. "My grandfather built this empire on blood and fear. My father expanded it, but I'm trying to transform it, slowly, carefully, moving money into legitimate channels, divesting from the worst of it." "Why?" "Because I'm tired." The admission seemed to cost him. "Tired of violence, of always looking over my shoulder, of knowing I'll probably die young and bloody like every Moretti before me. I want something different, something that lasts." He turned to face her. "That's where you come in." Arya's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I mean you make me want that future more than I fear the cost of getting there. You make me want to be the man who deserves you instead of the one who simply owns you." "Lucian, I'm not asking you to love me, not yet, but I'm asking you to see what I'm trying to become, for you, because of you." The intensity in his voice, in his eyes, it was overwhelming, terrifying, because part of her wanted to believe him, wanted to think she could transform this dangerous man into something better. That night, Lucian asked her to attend a charity gala with him. "You don't have to," he said, "but I want you there. I want people to see you with me." "As what? Your mistress?" "As mine," he said it firmly. "I don't care what label they use, but yes, this is me claiming you publicly. If that makes you uncomfortable, I'll go." The words came out before she could reconsider. The gala was held at a historic mansion, filled with the city's elite. Arya wore a dress Lucian had selected, midnight blue silk that clung to her curves and made her feel simultaneously beautiful and exposed. His hand rested possessively on her lower back as they navigated the crowd. People stared, whispered. She heard the speculation. Who was she? Where had she come from? What was her connection to Lucian Moretti? "Ignore them," Lucian murmured in her ear. "They're jealous and bored and desperate for gossip. You're worth 100 of them." A woman approached, elegant, predatory, dripping in diamonds. "Lucian, darling, you didn't mention you'd be bringing a date." "Arya, this is Victoria Castellano. Victoria, Arya Bennett." The woman's smile sharpened. "Bennett, any relation to the Beacon Hill Bennetts?" "No," Arya said quietly. "Queens. No relation to anyone important." "How refreshing." Victoria's tone said the opposite. Lucian usually prefers women with more pedigree. Lucian's expression went cold. "Be very careful, Victoria." "Oh, I meant no offense. I'm simply surprised by your new taste. She's very wholesome." "She's mine. That's all the pedigree she needs." His arm tightened around Arya's waist. "Now, if you'll excuse us." He guided Arya away, tension radiating from him. "I'm sorry about that. Victoria's a viper. always has been. She's right, though. I don't belong in this world. You belong wherever I say you belong. He stopped, turning her to face him. And you belong with me. Later, they danced. Lucian's hand splayed across her back, holding her close as they moved across the floor. Arya had never learned formal dancing, but he guided her effortlessly, making her feel graceful. You're beautiful tonight, he said softly. But then, you're beautiful every day. You don't have to say things like that. I know. I want to. His gaze held hers. I want you to know how I see you. Not as some charity case or obligation. You're exquisite, Arya. Inside and out. Her breath caught. The way he looked at her, like she was precious, rare, worth protecting, it made her feel things she shouldn't feel, dangerous things. I'm starting to forget why I should hate you, she whispered. Good. His lips brushed her temple. Because I'm falling for you, deeper every day, and I want you to fall with me. That's not part of our deal. No, it's not. But it's happening anyway, isn't it? She couldn't deny it. Over weeks of conversations and carefully orchestrated kindness, Lucian had worked his way beneath her defenses. She looked forward to their evenings together, felt safer when he was near, had started to crave his touch, his attention, his rare smiles. This is crazy, she said. Probably, but I've never been particularly sane when it comes to things I want. As the evening wore on, Arya found herself relaxing into the role. Lucian introduced her to business associates, politicians, socialites. He never diminished her, never made her feel less than. He presented her as an equal, his choice, his partner. By the time they returned to the estate, Arya's feet ached from the heels and her face hurt from smiling. Lucian walked her to her door, his hand lingering on her waist. Thank you for tonight, he said, for being there with me. Did I have a choice? Yes, you always have a choice with me, Arya. The consequences might be severe, but the choice exists. His hand rose to cup her face. I want you to choose me. Not because you're trapped, not because of your mother, but because you want this. Want me. I don't know if I can separate those things. Then let me help you. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his lips met hers in a kiss that started gentle and quickly turned consuming. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head back as he deepened the kiss. Arya's hands clutched at his jacket, her entire body igniting. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. I want you, he said roughly. I want you in every way a man can want a woman, but not until you want it too. Not until you ask me for it. And if I never ask, then I'll spend every day trying to change your mind. He pressed one more soft kiss to her lips. Sleep well, Arya. He disappeared into his room, leaving her trembling and confused and aching for something she couldn't name. Over the following weeks, the tension between them built to an unbearable pitch. Lucian continued his careful campaign. Thoughtful gestures, deep conversations, moments of vulnerability that felt like gifts. He told her about his childhood, his complicated relationship with his father, the weight of expectations he'd carried his entire life. I never wanted this empire, he admitted one night. I wanted to be an architect, design buildings, create things instead of destroying them. Why didn't you? Because Morettis don't get to choose their own paths. We inherit blood and legacy and obligation. He looked at her. You're the first thing I've chosen purely for myself. Not because it serves the family or the business or some strategic goal, just because I wanted you. These revelations should have felt manipulative. Another tool in his arsenal to bind her to him. But they felt real, raw and honest in a way that made her heart ache. Her mother's recovery continued. Weekly calls brought better news each time. The tumors shrinking, her energy returning, hope blooming where there had been only despair. And every bit of good news made Arya more grateful, more indebted, more tangled in Lucian's web. One evening, 6 weeks after moving into the estate, Arya found Lucian in his office, staring at his computer screen with an expression she'd never seen before. Fear. What's wrong? She asked from the doorway. He looked up, something raw in his eyes. There's a problem with the Volkov family. They're pushing into our territory, challenging our contracts. It's going to get violent. How violent? People will die. Maybe me, if I'm not careful. He stood, moving toward her. I need you to promise me something. What? If something happens to me, if I don't come back from this, you'll take the money I've set aside for you and disappear. Change your name. Start over somewhere safe. Promise me. Lucian, promise me, Arya. He gripped her shoulders. I can handle knowing I might die. I can't handle knowing you'd be caught in the aftermath. I promise. The words felt like a lie. Where would she go? How could she just disappear when he'd become the center of her entire world? He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. I don't want to lose you. I just found you. Then don't die. She pulled back, looking up at him. Don't leave me alone in this world you've pulled me into. I'll try. He kissed her forehead. I'll try for you. That night, as she lay in bed, unable to sleep, she heard movement in Lucian's room. Voices, angry, urgent. The sound of furniture scraping, then silence. Morning came with news. Lucian had left before dawn, taking his security team. No word on where or when he'd return. Arya spent the day pacing her room, checking her phone obsessively, trying not to imagine every terrible scenario. Mrs. Caldwell brought her meals she couldn't eat, offered comfort she couldn't accept. He'll come back, the housekeeper said quietly. He always does. How do you know? Because now he has something to come back to. Night fell. Still no word. Arya finally gave up pretending she could sleep and curled up in the window seat, watching the gates. Waiting. It was past midnight when headlights cut through the darkness, cars pulling through the gates, men spilling out. And then, illuminated by the entrance lights, Lucian. Alive. Walking. Blood on his shirt, but walking. Arya ran. She flew down the stairs, through the hallways, reaching the entrance just as he stepped inside. He looked up, surprise flickering across his exhausted face. Arya, she crashed into him, her arms wrapping around his neck. You're alive. You're okay. He held her tight, one hand cradling the back of her head. I'm okay. I promised I'd try, remember? Whose blood is that? Not mine. It's over. The Volkovs won't be a problem anymore. She should be horrified, should recoil from the violence implicit in those words. Instead, she just held him tighter. I was terrified, she whispered. All day I was terrified you wouldn't come back. Would you have missed me? His voice held something fragile. Yes. The admission felt like stepping off a cliff. I would have missed you. I do miss you when you're gone. I think about you constantly, and I hate it, and I love it, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Lucian pulled back, his hands framing her face. What are you saying? I'm saying I choose this. I choose you. Not because of my mother or the money or because I'm trapped. I choose you because when you're not here, the world feels dimmer. Because you make me feel seen and valued and desired. Because somewhere in the last 6 weeks, I stopped being your prisoner and started being something else entirely. What are you now? His voice was barely a whisper. Yours. She said it clearly, finally. Completely, willingly yours. The kiss was inevitable. Explosive. His mouth claimed hers with a hunger that had been building for weeks, and Arya met him with equal desperation. Her fingers tangled in his hair as he lifted her, her legs wrapping around his waist. Are you sure? He asked between kisses. Once we do this, I'm sure. Take me upstairs, Lucian. Make me yours in every way. He carried her up the stairs to his room this time, not hers, laid her on his bed with a reverence that made her chest ache. And when he finally made love to her, it was with a combination of passion and tenderness that shattered every defense she had left. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Arya felt the last pieces of her old life fall away. She was no longer the invisible maid from Queens. She was Arya Bennett, chosen by Lucian Moretti, transformed by obsession into something new. I love you, he whispered against her hair. I've loved you from the moment you looked at me with those terrified, honest eyes. I love you too. The words came easier than she expected. Even though you're impossible and dangerous and you trapped me in the most elaborate manipulation I've ever seen. I prefer to think of it as aggressive courtship. She laughed, the sound surprising both of them. Is that what this was? Courtship? The Moretti version, yes. kissed her temple. Did it work? Unfortunately. She traced patterns on his chest. You've ruined me for normal men, you know. How am I supposed to be satisfied with someone who doesn't orchestrate elaborate schemes to make me fall for them? You're not, that's the point. His arms tightened around her. You're mine forever now, Arya. No escape. I know. And strangely, the thought didn't terrify her anymore. I know. The weeks that followed became a blur of stolen mornings and tangled sheets, of whispered confessions in the dark and learning each other's bodies like sacred texts. Arya discovered that beneath Lucien's controlled exterior lived a man starved for genuine connection, who touched her like she might disappear if he wasn't careful. She learned the scars on his back, 3 knife wounds from his 20s, and the nightmare that woke him at 3 a.m. every Tuesday, though he never told her what it was about. You don't have to tell me everything, she said one night, her fingers tracing the ridge of scar tissue along his shoulder blade. I want to. He caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. I've spent my entire life keeping secrets. With you, I want to be known. They fell into an easy rhythm. Mornings, Lucien handled business while Arya visited her mother, whose recovery continued to astound the medical team. The tumor markers were nearly undetectable now, her energy returning in waves that brought color back to her cheeks and light back to her eyes. You look different, her mother said during one visit, studying Arya's face with maternal intensity. Happier. Is there someone? Arya's heart stuttered. Why would you think that? Because I know my daughter. You're glowing, sweetheart, like you're in love. It's complicated, Mom. Love usually is. Her mother squeezed her hand. But if he makes you happy, if he treats you well, that's what matters. If only she knew. If only Arya could explain that the man who made her happy was also the one who'd essentially bought her, trapped her in a gilded cage and methodically dismantled every wall she'd built around her heart. That she'd fallen in love with her captor and couldn't bring herself to regret it. Evenings belonged to them alone. Sometimes they stayed in, cooking together in Lucien's private kitchen. Or rather, Arya cooked while Lucien watched with fascination, having never learned such mundane skills. Other nights he took her to exclusive restaurants, underground clubs, private concerts where the city's elite mingled with its dangerous underbelly. They're all watching us, Arya murmured one night at a gallery opening, acutely aware of the eyes following their every move. Let them watch. Lucien's arm tightened around her waist. Let them see that Lucien Moretti has finally found something he values more than power. You don't have to say things like that in public. I'm not saying it for them. I'm saying it because it's true. He turned her to face him, oblivious to their audience. You've changed everything, Arya. The way I see the world, the way I see myself. I'm not the same man I was 3 months ago. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet. Ask me in a year. But they didn't have a year. They had 3 more weeks before everything shattered. It started with small things Arya barely noticed. Lucien became more protective, keeping her closer during their outings. His security detail doubled, then tripled. Meetings ran later, his expressions grew darker, and the tension in his shoulders never fully released, even when they were alone. What's wrong? She asked one night, watching him stare out the bedroom window at the grounds below. Business complications. Nothing you need to worry about. Lucien? He turned, and she saw the exhaustion etched into every line of his face. There's a power struggle within the organization. Some of the old guard don't approve of the changes I've been implementing. They think I've gone soft. Have you? Yes. He said it without hesitation. Because of you. Because I want to build something better than what my father left me. But change makes people nervous, and nervous people become dangerous. What are they going to do? Try to remove me. Replace me with someone more traditional, more brutal. He crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. I won't let them touch you. Whatever happens, you're protected. I don't want protection. I want you safe. Those aren't mutually exclusive, love. He kissed her forehead. Trust me to handle this. She tried. But trust became harder as the days passed and Lucien's absences grew longer. He'd leave before dawn, return after midnight, his clothes sometimes carrying the copper smell of blood. He never explained, and Arya learned not to ask. Some truths were too heavy to speak aloud. 2 weeks into the escalating tension, Arya woke to find Lucien already dressed, strapping a gun to his ankle with practiced efficiency. "Where are you going?" Her voice came out smaller than intended. "Meeting with the Costellos, neutral ground, supposed to be safe." He straightened, checking his reflection with mechanical precision. "I'll be back by dinner." "Lucian, I love you." He said it fiercely, crossing to her and cupping her face. "Whatever happens today, I need you to remember that. I love you more than I've ever loved anything in my life." "You're scaring me." "Good. Be scared. Stay in the house, stay with security. If something goes wrong, if I don't come back, there's an envelope in my office safe. Instructions, account numbers, everything you need to disappear. Stop talking like you're going to die. I'm not planning on it, but I've lived this life long enough to know that plans and reality rarely align." He kissed her, deep and desperate. "Be ready to run if you have to." He left before she could argue further, and Arya spent the day pacing her room like a caged animal. Mrs. Caldwell brought lunch she couldn't eat, tea that went cold while she stared at her phone, willing it to ring. Afternoon bled into evening. No word, no updates. The security team's expressions grew grimmer as the sun set and Lucian failed to return. At 8 p.m., Arya's phone finally buzzed. Not Lucian. Vincent, his head of security. "Miss Bennett, there's been an incident. Mr. Moretti is alive but injured. We're bringing him to the estate now. Doctor's already here." The phone slipped from her nerveless fingers. Alive. He was alive. But injured how badly? Why weren't they taking him to a hospital? Because hospitals asked questions, filed reports, and the Moretti family solved their problems privately. She was waiting at the entrance when the car pulled up, watched them carry Lucian inside on a stretcher. Blood soaked through his shirt, his face pale as death. His eyes found hers as they rushed him past. "Arya, don't talk. Save your strength." She followed them up the stairs into a room she'd never seen before, a private medical suite complete with surgical equipment. The family doctor, a gray-haired man who moved with quiet efficiency, immediately began cutting away Lucian's shirt. "Miss Bennett, you should wait outside," Vincent said gently. "No, I'm staying." "This isn't going to be pleasant." "I'm staying." She said it with enough force that even Vincent backed down. The next hour was a nightmare of blood and pain and Lucian's barely suppressed groans as the doctor extracted a bullet from his shoulder and stitched the knife wound across his ribs. Arya held his hand through all of it, letting him squeeze until her bones ground together. "The Costellos?" he managed between gritted teeth. "Handled," Vincent confirmed. "Marco's team dealt with them. It's done." "All of them?" "Every last one." Lucian's eyes closed in relief. "Good." Finally, blessedly, the doctor administered morphine. Lucian's features relaxed as the drug took hold, his grip on Arya's hand loosening. "He'll sleep now," the doctor said, washing his hands. "The wounds are serious, but not life-threatening. He'll need rest, antibiotics, no strenuous activity for at least 2 weeks." Arya barely heard him. She was too focused on Lucian's face, memorizing the rise and fall of his chest, proof that he was alive and breathing and still hers. When everyone finally left them alone, she climbed carefully onto the bed beside him, pressing her ear to his chest to hear his heartbeat. "I'm okay," he mumbled, the morphine making him fuzzy. "Told you I'd come back." "You almost didn't." "Almost doesn't count." His hand found her hair, fingers tangling in the strands. "Had to come back. You're here." "I was so scared." "Me too. First time in years I've actually been afraid of dying." His words slurred together. "Used to not care. Then you happened." "Sleep," she whispered. "We'll talk when you're better." "Love you. So much. Don't ever leave me." "I won't, I promise." He drifted off, and Arya stayed beside him through the night, watching over him like a guardian angel with trembling hands and a heart that wouldn't stop racing. The days of Lucian's recovery were strange and intimate. He hated being vulnerable, hated needing help with basic tasks. But Arya was patient, helping him shower, changing his bandages, bringing him meals and medication. She read to him when the boredom grew unbearable, argued with him when he tried to work too soon. "You're supposed to be resting," she scolded, finding him on his laptop 3 days post-injury. "I am resting. Sitting down, aren't I?" "Lucian." "The organization doesn't stop because I got shot, Arya. People depend on me. And those people can wait until you're healed. She closed his laptop firmly. You're no good to anyone dead. Bossy. But he was smiling. When did you get so commanding? When you forced me to care whether you lived or died. Well, she sat beside him, careful of his injuries. You can't keep doing this. The violence, the danger, eventually your luck will run out. I know. He looked away. That's why I'm accelerating the transition plan, moving more money into legitimate channels, cutting ties with the worst operations. In 5 years, maybe less, the Moretti name will mean real estate and investments, not crime. Can you really do that? Just walk away? Not walk away. Transform. It's slower, more complicated, but possible. He turned back to her. For you, I'd do anything, even dismantle everything my family built. I don't want you to destroy your legacy for me. My legacy is blood and fear. I want to build something better, something our children won't be ashamed of. The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Children, future, a life beyond this moment. We've never talked about that, Arya said quietly. About what? Children, the future. What this actually is between us. Lucian caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. What do you want it to be? I don't know. Everything's happened so fast. 3 months ago, I was invisible. Now I'm in love with one of the most dangerous men in the city, watching him nearly bleed out in my arms. She shook her head. I don't know how to plan a future when the present feels this unstable. Then we make it stable. He said it with absolute certainty. We build something solid, something real. Marry me, Arya. Her heart stopped. What? Marry me. Be my wife. Let me give you everything. My name, my protection, my entire world. Lucian, we can't. Why not? I love you. You love me. We're already living together, already committed to each other. Because I'm still adjusting to being your girlfriend or mistress or whatever I am. Marriage is making permanent what's already true. He shifted to face her fully, wincing at the movement. I know I trapped you into this initially. I know I manipulated you, used your desperation against you. But that's not what this is anymore. You chose me, Arya. You chose this, so choose it forever. This is the morphine talking. This is my heart talking. The morphine just made me brave enough to say it. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. Think about it at least. Don't answer now. Just think about it. She did think about it, constantly. Through the rest of his recovery, through the return to normalcy as his strength came back and business resumed its usual chaos. The idea of being Mrs. Moretti terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. You're distracted, Lucian observed one evening at dinner, 2 weeks post-shooting. Just thinking. About my proposal? Among other things. And what's your answer? Arya set down her fork, meeting his gaze directly. Ask me again when you're completely healed. When we're not operating in crisis mode. If you still want this, want me, when life is normal, then I'll give you my answer. Deal. He smiled. Though I should warn you, normal doesn't really exist in my world. I'm learning that. Normal proved elusive indeed. Another week passed, and with it came new complications. Arya started feeling off, exhausted despite sleeping well, nauseous at odd times, her emotions swinging wildly from tears to euphoria without warning. You should see a doctor, Lucian said, concerned as she pushed away her breakfast for the 3rd morning in a row. I'm fine, probably just stressed. You're pale, and you've been tired constantly. He pressed his palm to her forehead. No fever, though. I'll make an appointment if it doesn't get better. But she already knew. Somewhere deep in her bones, she knew what was wrong. The timing was too perfect. The symptoms too familiar from her mother's early pregnancies before the miscarriages that had eventually left Arya an only child. She took the test in secret, locked in her bathroom at 3 a.m. while Lucien slept in the next room. Watched the second line appear with a combination of terror and wonder. Pregnant. She was pregnant with Lucian Moretti's child. The knowledge sat in her chest like a stone. She should tell him, should share this news with the man who'd proposed to her, who loved her, who wanted a future together. But something held her back. Some instinct that whispered this changed everything. She scheduled an appointment with Lucian's personal physician, who confirmed what she already knew. About 6 weeks along, Dr. Morrison said, looking at the ultrasound. Very early still, but everything looks healthy. Have you told the father? Not yet. I wanted to be sure first. Well, you can be sure now. Congratulations, Miss Bennett. Congratulations. As if this was planned. As if she hadn't been trapped in this life by desperation and manipulation, hadn't fallen in love with the man who'd orchestrated her captivity. As if she had any idea how to be a mother when she could barely figure out how to be Lucian's partner. She returned to the estate in a daze, her mind spinning with impossible questions. How would Lucian react? Would he be happy? Would this make her even more trapped than before? Would he use the baby as another chain to bind her to him? The answers came faster than she expected. That evening, Lucian found her in the library, curled in her favorite chair with a book she wasn't reading. You saw Dr. Morrison today. Not a question. Of course he knew. He monitored everything about her life. Yes. And? She looked up at him, at this man who'd become her entire world, and felt the truth rising in her throat like a confession. I'm pregnant. The words fell into silence. Lucian stared at her, his expression unreadable. Seconds stretched into eternity while Arya's heart hammered against her ribs. Then he smiled, slowly, brilliantly, like she'd just given him the world. You're pregnant. He crossed to her, pulling her to her feet and into his arms. We're having a baby. Relief flooded through her. You're happy? Happy? Arya, He pulled back, framing her face with his hands. I'm beyond happy. This is everything I wanted. Everything you wanted, she repeated slowly. Lucian, we never talked about having children. We've been careful. Not that careful. He said it too smoothly, and something in his eyes made her blood run cold. What do you mean? I mean, accidents happen. This wasn't an accident. The realization hit her like a physical blow. You planned this. You made sure this happened. He didn't deny it, didn't even have the grace to look guilty. I wanted you bound to me permanently. A child accomplishes that. She shoved at his chest, fury rising like a tidal wave. You manipulated my birth control? You deliberately got me pregnant? I gave us a future. You took away my choice. She was shouting now, all the fear and anger of the past months erupting. Everything else? The money? The deal? Moving in here? I agreed to that. But this? You had no right. I had every right. You're mine, Arya. Your body is mine. Your future is mine. That's not love. That's ownership. It's both. He said it calmly, like he was explaining something obvious. I love you, and I own you. I want you happy, and I want you trapped. Both things are true. Arya stumbled backward, her hand instinctively moving to her still flat stomach. I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you Her voice broke. I trusted you. And you can still trust me. I'll give you everything, the best doctors, anything you need. Our child will have a perfect life. Our child will have a father who manipulates and controls people, who thinks women are possessions to be owned. Our child will have a father who loves their mother more than life itself, who'd burn the world down to keep them safe. He moved toward her, but she held up a hand to stop him. Don't touch me right now. Arya, I need time. I need to think. There's nothing to think about. You're pregnant? We're having a baby. That's reality now. A reality you forced on me. Tears spilled down her cheeks, just like you forced everything else. When do I get to choose, Lucian? When is anything in my life actually mine? This is yours. This baby is yours. I'm yours. He looked almost desperate now, like her anger had finally penetrated his certainty. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I should have asked, but I'm not sorry it happened. I can't be sorry about creating a life with you. Get out. Her voice shook. Get out of my sight before I say something we can't come back from. For once, he listened. He left without another word, the door clicking shut with terrible finality. Arya collapsed back into the chair, her hands cradling her stomach as sobs racked her body. Pregnant. She was pregnant with the child of a man who loved her and controlled her in equal measure, who'd given her everything and taken away her freedom in the same breath, who'd just proven that no matter how much he claimed to love her, he saw her as something to possess, rather than someone to partner with. The betrayal cut deeper than anything else he'd done, because she'd believed him, believed they were building something real, something equal, believed he'd changed, that she'd changed him. But nothing had changed. He was still Lucian Moretti, the man who took what he wanted and called it love, and she was still his prisoner, just in a cage made of promises instead of bars. Mrs. Caldwell found her hours later, still crying in the dark library. "Oh, child," the older woman's voice was gentle. "You found out about the baby." "He planned it. He deliberately got me pregnant without my knowledge or consent." "I know." Arya's head snapped up. "You knew?" "I suspected, Mr. Moretti has always been very deliberate in his plans." Mrs. Caldwell sat in the chair across from her. "He wants you permanently bound to him. A child ensures that. How can you work for someone like this? How can you justify what he does?" "I don't justify it. I simply understand it." The housekeeper's expression was sad. Lucian Moretti has never been taught to love properly. His father was cruel, his mother distant. He learned that to keep something, you trap it. That love means possession. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. But it's an explanation. She leaned forward. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. I can't leave. My mother's still in treatment. And even if I could, where would I go?" "He'd find me." "Yes, he would. So I'm stuck, pregnant and stuck with a man who thinks he owns me." "Do you love him?" Mrs. Caldwell asked quietly. The question pierced through Arya's anger. Did she love him? Even now? Even after this betrayal? "Yes," she whispered. "I hate that I do, but yes." Then perhaps the question isn't whether to stay or go. It's whether you can forgive him, whether you can build something with a man who expresses love through control. "I don't know if I can." "Then you have 9 months to decide." 9 months. 9 months until she held Lucian's child in her arms. 9 months to figure out if love was enough to overcome manipulation, if she could accept being cherished and controlled simultaneously. 9 months to decide if she could truly be Lucian Moretti's forever. The silence between them stretched for 3 days. Arya stayed in her suite, doors locked, meals delivered by Mrs. Caldwell. She could hear Lucian pacing in his room at night, could feel the weight of his presence through the walls. Twice he knocked, asking to talk. Both times she told him to leave. On the 4th morning, she woke to find an envelope slipped under her door. Inside, a single sheet of paper in Lucian's precise handwriting. "I was wrong. Not about wanting this, wanting you, wanting our child, but about taking the choice from you. You deserved honesty, not manipulation. You deserve to be asked, not controlled. I don't know how to love without possessing. I don't know how to want something without taking it, but I'm trying to learn. For you, I'll try. Please talk to me. Please let me make this right." Arya read it 3 times, her fingers trembling against the paper. The apology felt genuine, but was that enough? Could words undo what he'd done? She found him in his office, staring at his computer screen without really seeing it. He looked up when she entered, hope and fear warring in his expression. "You read my note," he said quietly. "I read it." She closed the door behind her, leaning against it. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet." "I understand." Do you? Do you really understand what you took from me?" Her voice cracked. "Every other choice, moving here, being with you, all of it, I made those choices. They weren't free choices, maybe, but they were mine. This? You stole this from me." "I know." He stood, moving toward her slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. "I told myself I was giving us forever, ensuring you'd never leave, but the truth is, I was terrified." "Of what?" "Of you realizing you could do better. Of you waking up one day and seeing me clearly. A criminal, a killer, a man who bought your compliance with your mother's life. I was afraid you'd leave the moment you could." He stopped a few feet away, giving her space. "A child meant you'd always be connected to me, always have a reason to stay. So you made sure I had no choice." "Yes, and that was cruel and wrong, and I'm sorrier than I know how to express." His hands clenched at his sides. "But I'm not sorry we're having a baby. I can't be sorry about that, even knowing how it happened." Arya's hand moved to her stomach, a gesture that was becoming automatic. "I'm not sorry either, not about the baby. I'm furious about how it happened. You have every right to be. I do. And you don't get to take that anger away from me by being reasonable and apologetic. I need to be angry, Lucian. I need to feel this. Then be angry. Scream at me. Throw things. I'll take whatever you need to give. He took another step closer. Just don't shut me out. Don't take this journey away from me because I'm an idiot who doesn't know how to love properly. You want to be part of this pregnancy after what you did? I want to be part of everything. Your life, our child's life, every moment from now until I die. His voice roughened with emotion. I love you, Arya. Obsessively, possessively, probably unhealthily. But I love you. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving that means something. She wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to her righteous fury like armor. But looking at him, at the naked vulnerability in his eyes, the genuine remorse, she felt her resolve weakening. If we do this, she said slowly, if I forgive you and we move forward, things have to change. Anything. No more secrets. No more manipulation. If you want something from me, you ask. You don't orchestrate or control or trap. You ask like I'm an equal partner, not a possession. Done. And you get help, therapy or something, because Mrs. Caldwell is right. You don't know how to love without controlling, and that's not sustainable. He looked uncomfortable. Therapy? Yes, real therapy with someone who isn't on your payroll, someone who will actually call you on your issues. That's... He stopped, took a breath. Okay, I'll do it. Really? You think I'm going to lose you over my pride? I'll talk to 100 therapists if that's what it takes. He moved closer still until she could feel his warmth. I'll do anything, Arya. Anything to keep you. To be the man you deserve. You might not like what you learn about yourself. Probably not. But if it means I get to keep you, I'll face it. She studied his face, searching for deception or manipulation, found only sincerity and desperate hope. I'm still angry, she said. I know. And I'm scared. Of being a mother, of raising a child in your world, of what this all means. I'm scared too. The admission seemed to cost him. Terrified, actually, of failing you, failing our child, of being the kind of father mine was. You won't be. The certainty in her voice surprised them both. You're already different, already trying to be better. Because of you. No, because you want to be. I'm just the catalyst. She closed the remaining distance between them, placing her hand on his chest over his heart. We're going to figure this out. Together. But Lucian, if you ever manipulate me like this again, if you ever take away my choice, I'm gone. Mother's treatment be damned. I'm gone. Do you understand? Yes. He covered her hand with his. I understand. It won't happen again. Promise me. I promise, Sasham, on everything I have, everything I am, I promise. She believed him. Maybe she was a fool for it, but she believed him. Okay. She took a shaky breath. Okay. We'll do this together. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious crystal. Thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance. Don't make me regret it. I won't. I swear I won't. They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other. The worst of the storm passed. Not forgotten. Arya wouldn't forget this betrayal anytime soon, but acknowledged, apologized for, and tentatively forgiven. Over the following weeks, Lucian kept his promises with an intensity that was almost comical. He asked permission for everything, holding her hand, kissing her, even ordering her favorite foods. It drove Arya half crazy until she finally told him to relax. I don't need you to ask if you can touch me, she said, exasperated. We're still together. We're still in love. Just don't make major life decisions for me without my knowledge. I'm trying to respect your boundaries. My boundaries don't include you acting like we're strangers. Touch me, Lucian. Love me. Just also respect me. He did. Slowly, carefully, they rebuilt what his betrayal had damaged, and true to his word, he started therapy. Twice a week, he disappeared for 90 minutes to see Dr. Sarah Chen, a psychiatrist with a reputation for not taking anyone's nonsense. She's terrifying, he told Arya after the third session. She sees right through every excuse, every deflection. Good. That's exactly what you need. She says I have attachment issues, control issues, basically every issue. Do you disagree? No, that's the worst part. He pulled her against him on the couch, his hand settling on her growing belly. But she also says I'm capable of change. That awareness is the first step. What else does she say? That I need to learn to tolerate uncertainty, that trying to control everything is my way of managing fear, that love without trust isn't really love. He pressed a kiss to her temple. She's basically dismantling my entire personality and asking me to rebuild it healthier. How does that feel? Horrible. Necessary. Like surgery without anesthesia. He paused. But worth it. If it means I can be the partner you need, the father our child deserves, it's worth it. Arya felt something in her chest crack open. This was the man she'd fallen in love with, beneath the control and manipulation, someone genuinely trying to be better. I'm proud of you, she said softly. Don't be. I'm only doing what I should have been doing all along. Still, it takes courage to face yourself honestly. The pregnancy progressed. Morning sickness gave way to an unnatural craving for pickles and ice cream, sometimes together, much to Lucian's amusement. Her body changed, curves appearing where there'd been angles. Lucian watched these changes with fascination, his hands constantly drawn to her belly, as if he couldn't quite believe the life growing there. Have you thought about names? He asked one evening, his palms spread across her stomach. Some? Nothing concrete. You? Isabella. If it's a girl. His voice went soft. It was my grandmother's name, the only person in my family who was genuinely kind. Isabella Moretti. Arya tested the name. I like it. And if it's a boy? I don't know. Something strong, something that sounds like hope instead of legacy. We'll figure it out. They told her mother about the pregnancy during one of Arya's visits. The older woman's eyes filled with tears as she pulled Arya into a tight hug. A grandchild. I'm going to be a grandmother. She pulled back, studying Arya's face. Are you happy, sweetheart? Yes, terrified but happy. And the father, the man who's been making you glow these past months? Arya glanced at Lucian, who'd insisted on coming with her for this announcement. He stood near the door, uncharacteristically nervous about meeting her mother properly. Mom, this is Lucian. Lucian, my mother, Sarah. He crossed to her, extending his hand. Mrs. Bennett, it's an honor to finally meet you properly. Sarah studied him with the sharp eyes of a protective mother. You're the one who arranged my treatment, who saved my life. Yes, ma'am. And you're the one who put that ring on my daughter's finger? She gestured to the engagement ring that had appeared on Arya's hand 2 weeks ago, emerald-cut diamond, elegant and understated. Yes, ma'am, if you'll have me as your son-in-law. That depends. Do you love her? More than anything in this world. Will you protect her, take care of her and my grandchild? With my life. I swear it. Sarah looked at Arya. And you love him? I do, completely. Then you have my blessing, both of you. She pulled Lucian down and kissed his cheek. Take care of my girl. She's all I have. She's all I have too, Lucian said quietly. I'll cherish her every day. Watching them together, Arya felt tears prick her eyes. This was the future she'd never dared imagine. Her mother healthy, a man who loved her despite his flaws, a baby on the way. Complicated and messy and absolutely real. The months passed in a blur of doctor's appointments and nursery planning and Lucian's continued therapy. He was changing, slowly but noticeably. He asked instead of demanded more often. He gave her space when she needed it. He was learning to communicate fear instead of masking it with control. Dr. Chen says I'm making progress, he told her one night, his hand tracing patterns on her swollen belly. Still have a long way to go, but progress. I can see it. You're different than you were. Better? More real. Less perfect, but more genuine. She caught his hand, holding it still. I like this version of you. Even though I'm a mess? Especially because you're a mess. It makes you human. At 6 months, they found out the baby's sex. A girl. Isabella, just as Lucian had hoped. A daughter. He stared at the ultrasound image like it held the secrets of the universe. We're having a daughter. Are you disappointed? I know some men want sons. Disappointed? Arya, I'm terrified. He looked at her, raw emotion in his eyes. I'm going to have a daughter in this world. A world full of men like me. Men who take what they want, who see women as possessions. How am I supposed to protect her from everything? You can't. But you can raise her to be strong, to know her worth, to never let anyone, even her father, make her feel like less than she is. What if I mess her up? What if I'm too controlling, too overprotective? Then I'll balance you out. We'll balance each other out. She pulled his hand to her lips, kissing his knuckles. We're in this together, remember? Together, he breathed out slowly. Right, together. They married quietly in the estate garden 6 weeks later, Arya 7 months pregnant and glowing in a simple white dress. Her mother attended, healthy and strong, tears streaming down her face as she watched her daughter marry the man who'd saved both their lives. You look beautiful, Lucian whispered as they stood before the officiant. You're biased. Completely. Helplessly. Eternally biased. He squeezed her hands. Ready to be Mrs. Moretti? Ready as I'll ever be. The ceremony was brief, the vows traditional, but when Lucian slipped the wedding band onto her finger, Arya felt the weight of it like a promise. Not a chain this time. A choice. Her choice. I love you, he said, his forehead pressed to hers. Thank you for choosing me. For choosing this. Thank you for being worth choosing. They kissed as husband and wife, and Arya felt something settle in her chest. This was her life now. Complicated, unconventional, built on a foundation of manipulation that had somehow transformed into genuine love. But it was hers. Finally, truly hers. The last 2 months of pregnancy were uncomfortable and exhausting. Arya's feet swelled, her back ached constantly, and she couldn't sleep more than 2 hours at a stretch. Lucian was attentive to the point of being overbearing, constantly asking if she needed anything. I need you to stop hovering, she finally snapped one evening. I'm not hovering, I'm being attentive. You're suffocating me. I'm pregnant, not dying. Go to work, handle your business. I'll be fine. But what if you need something? Then I'll call you, I promise. But Lucian, you can't watch me 24/7. It's driving me insane. He looked hurt, but backed off. I'm sorry. I just worry. I know, and I love you for it, but I also need space to breathe. It was a constant negotiation, balancing his protective instincts with her need for independence. But they were learning. Slowly, messily, they were learning to be partners instead of captor and captive. At 38 weeks, Arya's water broke at 2 in the morning. She woke Lucian calmly, her hospital bag already packed and ready. It's time, she said. He went pale. Time. Right. Okay. We should... Hospital. We need to go to the hospital. Breathe, Lucian. I'm breathing. I'm fine. This is fine. He was clearly panicking, fumbling with his phone to call the driver. Despite the pain of contractions, Arya had to laugh. Who's the one giving birth here? Right. Sorry, He pulled her into his arms. I'm terrified, Arya. What if something goes wrong? What if I lose you? You won't lose me. Women have been doing this for thousands of years. I'll be fine. Promise me. I promise I'll do my best to survive childbirth. She kissed him softly. Now help me to the car before I have this baby on our bedroom floor. The labor was long and brutal. 16 hours of pain that no amount of epidural could fully erase. Lucian stayed by her side through all of it, letting her crush his hand, whispering encouragement, looking increasingly helpless as the hours wore on. I can't do this, Arya gasped during a particularly brutal contraction. I can't. It's too much. Yes, you can. You're the strongest person I know. You can do anything. He pressed a kiss to her sweaty forehead. Just a little longer, love. Just a little longer. Finally, blessedly, the doctor told her to push. And then, after what felt like an eternity, a baby's cry pierced the air. It's a girl, the doctor announced, placing the tiny, screaming bundle on Arya's chest. Congratulations. Arya looked down at her daughter, red-faced and furious and absolutely perfect, and felt her entire world shift. This tiny human, this piece of her and Lucian combined into something new and miraculous. She's beautiful. Lucian breathed, his voice thick with tears. She's perfect. Isabella, Arya whispered. Hi, baby girl. We've been waiting for you. They spent the first hour just staring at her, counting her tiny fingers and toes, marveling at every feature. She had Lucian's dark hair and Arya's nose, and eyes that would probably change color in the coming weeks. Thank you, Lucian said quietly, his finger stroking Isabella's cheek. Thank you for her, for this, for everything. We made her together. I know, but you grew her. You brought her into the world. You're incredible, Arya. Absolutely incredible. Later, after Isabella had been cleaned and measured and declared perfectly healthy, after Arya had been stitched and settled in her recovery room, they lay together in the hospital bed, Arya exhausted, Lucian holding Isabella like she was made of glass. I'm going to protect you, he told their daughter softly. Both of you. Nothing in this world will ever hurt you if I can prevent it. Lucian. I know. Can't be overprotective. But look at her, Arya. She's so small, so vulnerable. She's also strong. She's ours. She'll be fine. He looked at Arya, love and fear and wonder mixing in his expression. How did I get this lucky? How did I deserve this? You didn't deserve it. None of us deserve the good things we get. We just have to be grateful for them and try to be worthy of keeping them. I'll spend my whole life trying to be worthy of you two. I know you will. They stayed like that for hours. A small family in a hospital room, the future spreading before them, uncertain and beautiful. The journey to this moment had been twisted and dark, built on manipulation and desperation. But looking at their daughter, at the pure, innocent life they'd created, Arya couldn't bring herself to regret any of it. This was what love looked like after it had survived fire and fear and betrayal. Messy and complicated and stronger for having been tested. I love you, she told Lucian. I love you too. Both of you. My whole world in this one room. Isabella yawned, her tiny fist curling around Lucian's finger, and Arya watched her dangerous, complicated, impossible husband fall completely and utterly in love with someone other than her for the first time. It was perfect. The first weeks with Isabella were a blur of sleepless nights and endless diaper changes, of learning her cries and rhythms, of stumbling through new parenthood with equal parts terror and wonder. Lucian was surprisingly hands-on for a man who ran a criminal empire, waking for midnight feedings and changing diapers with the same focused intensity he brought to business negotiations. You don't have to do this, Arya told him one night at 3 a.m. as he rocked their crying daughter. We have staff. You need sleep. So do you, and she's my responsibility too. He looked down at Isabella, his expression soft in the dim nursery light. Besides, I don't want to miss this. She's only this small once. Arya's heart swelled watching them together. This was the man beneath the violence and control, someone capable of profound tenderness when he allowed himself to be vulnerable. You're a good father, she said quietly. I'm trying. Isabella's cries quieted as she settled against his chest. Dr. Chen says it's good for me. Having someone completely dependent on me but who I can't control forces me to accept uncertainty. How's that going? Terribly. I want to bubble wrap her and lock her in the safest room in the house. He smiled wryly. But I'm resisting the urge. Mostly. I may have upgraded the security system and installed cameras in the nursery and run background checks on every staff member who comes within 50 feet of her. Lucian. I know. I'm working on it. He transferred Isabella to her crib, watching to make sure she stayed asleep. It's harder than I thought, loving something this much, being this vulnerable. Arya moved to stand beside him, her hand finding his. Welcome to parenthood. Is it always this terrifying? I think so, but also this beautiful. They stood together in the soft glow of the nightlight, watching their daughter sleep, and Arya felt something shift inside her. The last pieces of resentment, the final shadows of their dark beginning, they didn't disappear, but they transformed into something she could live with. Part of their story instead of the whole of it. Her mother visited often, her health fully restored now, the cancer in complete remission. She doted on Isabella with the fierce joy of someone who'd almost lost their chance at grandmotherhood. She has your chin, Sarah told Arya one afternoon, cradling Isabella in her arms. And your stubbornness, I suspect. Look at how she refuses to let go of my finger. That's all Lucian. He doesn't let go of anything either. Speaking of your husband, where is he? Business meeting. Should be back soon. Arya poured them both tea, settling into the comfortable routine they'd developed over months of visits. How are you feeling, Mom? Really? Strong, healthy, like I have a future again. Sarah's eyes glistened. I know what you did, sweetheart. What you sacrificed to give me this chance. Arya's hand stilled on her teacup. Mom, Mrs. Caldwell told me. Not the details, but enough. Her mother's gaze was knowing. You made a deal with him. Traded your freedom for my life. It wasn't like that. Not exactly. Wasn't it? Sarah set Isabella in her bassinet, giving her daughter her full attention. I know who Lucian Moretti is, Arya. What he is. The kind of power he wields. And I know you didn't just fall into his arms by accident. Arya's throat tightened. Are you angry? Angry? No. Heartbroken that you felt you had no choice. Grateful beyond words that you chose my life over your freedom. And terrified that you might regret it someday. I don't regret it. The words came without hesitation. The beginning was dark and manipulative and wrong in 100 ways. But Mom, what we have now, it's real. He's changed. I've changed. We're building something genuine. Do you love him? More than I thought possible. And he loves you? Truly? Yes. Obsessively, possessively, but genuinely. He'd burn the world for me and Isabella. Sarah studied her daughter's face for a long moment. Then I suppose that's what matters. Not how you started, but where you are now. You don't hate him? I don't know him well enough to hate him. But I'm watching, sweetheart. I'm watching to make sure he treats you the way you deserve. And if he doesn't, her expression turned steely. Cancer survivor or not, I'll find a way to make him pay. Arya laughed, surprised. Mom! I'm serious. Nobody hurts my daughter, not even the man who saved my life. When Lucian returned home that evening, he found Arya in the nursery, standing over Isabella's crib with tears streaming down her face. What's wrong? He was at her side instantly, searching for the problem. Is she okay? Are you okay? She smiled. Arya's voice broke. I was changing her diaper and she looked up at me and smiled. A real smile, not gas. She smiled at me, Lucian. Relief and understanding washed over his face. He pulled Arya into his arms, holding her as she cried happy tears into his shoulder. You're going to be an emotional wreck for the next 18 years, aren't you? He asked, amusement warming his voice. Probably. Can you handle that? I can handle anything as long as I have you two. But the world outside their domestic bubble wasn't so simple. 3 months after Isabella's birth, trouble found them again. One of Lucian's business rivals, a man named Viktor Kozlov, started making threats. Not against Lucian directly, but against his family. It's just posturing, Lucian said, but Arya could see the tension in his shoulders. Victor's trying to gain leverage. He won't actually do anything. How can you be sure? Because he knows touching you or Isabella would mean war. Total, scorched earth war. He's not ready for that. But what if he is? Arya's arms tightened around their daughter. What if he decides you're vulnerable now? That we're your weakness? Lucian's expression went cold and dangerous. Then he'll learn very quickly what happens to people who threaten what's mine. The threats escalated over the following week. Anonymous messages, photos of Arya and Isabella taken from a distance. A dead bird left on the estate gates with a note in Russian that Vincent translated as, "Even birds in cages die eventually." We need to leave, Arya said after the bird incident. Take Isabella somewhere safe until this is resolved. No, running shows weakness, and I won't be chased from my own home. This isn't about your pride, Lucian. It's about our daughter's safety, which is exactly why we're staying. Here, I can protect you both. Out there, you're exposed. He pulled her close, his voice softening. I know you're scared. I'm scared too, but trust me on this, please. She wanted to argue, to demand they run somewhere far from this violence. But looking into his eyes, she saw not arrogance, but calculation. He had a plan. What are you going to do? She asked quietly. End this. Permanently. The next 72 hours were tense and terrible. Lucian disappeared for long stretches, returning with blood on his clothes and shadows in his eyes. He didn't tell her details, and she didn't ask. Some things were better left unknown. On the third night, Viktor Kozlov's body was found in the river, along with his top 3 lieutenants. The news reported it as a gang dispute. Those in the know understood it as a message: threaten Lucian Moretti's family and die. It's over, Lucian told her, holding Isabella while Arya paced the room. Kozlov's organization is scattered. The threats are done. And the cost? 4 men dead, several more in the hospital. A business partnership destroyed. He looked at their daughter, something broken in his expression. I told myself I was getting out of this life, moving toward legitimacy. But the moment my family was threatened, you became the man you've always been, Arya finished. I know. I saw it. Does it scare you, knowing what I'm capable of? She thought about lying, about offering him easy comfort, but they'd built their relationship on brutal honesty, and she wouldn't abandon that now. Yes, it scares me. Knowing that the man who kisses our daughter goodnight is the same one who just killed 4 people. She moved to stand in front of him. But I also understand it. You protected us. You did what you had to do. I don't want Isabella growing up in this world, surrounded by violence and fear. Then change it. You keep saying you're transitioning the business. Actually do it. Completely. Whatever it takes. It's not that simple. Make it simple. She took Isabella from his arms, cradling their daughter against her chest. You're Lucian Moretti. You reshape reality to suit your will. Reshape this. For her. For us. He stared at her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. You're right. I've been moving too slowly, trying to maintain too much of the old empire. But if I have to choose between power and my family, you choose us. I choose you. Every time. He pulled them both into his arms. I'll do it. Complete divestment from the illegal operations. It'll take time, maybe a year, but I'll do it. Promise me. I promise. On Isabella's life, I promise. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, methodical process of selling off assets, cutting ties with dangerous partners, restructuring the Moretti empire into something that could survive scrutiny. Lucian threw himself into it with the same intensity he'd once brought to criminal enterprises, working 18-hour days to build something legitimate. You're going to burn out, Arya warned him 6 months into the transition. I'm fine. You're exhausted. You barely sleep, you hardly eat. Even Dr. Chen is worried about you. Dr. Chen worries about everything. It's her job. Lucian, Arya caught his face between her hands, forcing him to look at her. I need you alive and healthy. Isabella needs you. What good is a legitimate empire if you're dead from a heart attack at 40? He softened, his hands coming up to cover hers. I'm trying to give you the life you deserve, both of you. A life where you're not constantly looking over your shoulders, where our daughter can grow up normal. We don't need normal. We need you. Present, healthy, here with us. I'm here. Barely. When's the last time you played with Isabella? Really played with her? Not just kissed her goodnight before she was already asleep. Guilt flickered across his face. I've been busy. Too busy for your daughter? The words hit like a slap. Lucian stepped back, running his hands through his hair. You're right. I'm doing exactly what my father did, prioritizing empire over family. So stop. Delegate. You have good people. Use them. And if something goes wrong, then we handle it together. But Lucian, Isabella is 9 months old. She's learning to crawl. She's saying mama and dada. She's becoming a person. And you're missing it. He looked toward the nursery where Isabella was napping. I'm missing it. Yes, but you can stop missing it, starting now. That afternoon, Lucian cleared his schedule. He spent 2 hours on the floor with Isabella, helping her practice crawling, making her laugh with silly faces, just being present. Arya watched from the doorway, her heart full. This was who he could be when he let himself. Not Lucian Moretti, the crime boss, not the calculating businessman, just a father playing with his daughter. She's getting fast, he called to Arya, laughing as Isabella crawled toward him. Soon she'll be running, and I'll have to chase her through the entire estate. You'll love every minute of it. Probably. He scooped Isabella up, tossing her gently in the air while she shrieked with delight. My little girl, when did you get so big? She's growing every day, that's what babies do. I know, but I want her to stay small and perfect forever. That's not how life works. It should be. I could make it a rule. No growing up for Isabella Moretti. Arya laughed. Good luck enforcing that one. They fell into a new rhythm after that. Lucian delegated more, spent more time at home, made family the priority instead of the afterthought. The business transformation continued, slower now, but steadier. And gradually, the Moretti empire became something different. Legal, legitimate, clean. On Isabella's first birthday, they threw a party in the estate gardens. Her grandmother was there, healthy and radiant. Mrs. Caldwell baked an elaborate cake. A few trusted friends and business associates attended, along with their children. Arya watched Isabella smash her face into her birthday cake, frosting covering her hair and clothes, and felt tears prick her eyes. A year ago, she'd been in labor, terrified and uncertain. Now look at them. A family. Imperfect and complicated, but whole. Happy? Lucian asked, sliding his arm around her waist. Incredibly. You? More than I have words for. He kissed her temple. Thank you. For what? For choosing me. For giving me this. For showing me what actually matters. You did that yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction. You saved me, Arya. From myself, from my father's legacy, from becoming something irredeemable. You and Isabella, you're my redemption. No pressure there, she teased, but her voice was thick with emotion. I mean it. I was drowning in violence and power and emptiness. Then you walked into my office to clean a wine stain, and everything changed. Best wine stain of my life. He laughed. Mine too. Isabella toddled over, frosting covered and beaming, her arms reaching for her father. Lucian scooped her up without hesitation, frosting and all. Having fun, princess? He asked. Cake, she declared, one of her favorite new words. Yes, lots of cake. You wore most of it. Or Arya took a photo with her phone, capturing the moment. Her dangerous, reformed crime boss of a husband covered in birthday cake frosting, grinning like a fool while their daughter babbled happily in his arms. 2 years later, the transformation was complete. The Moretti Empire was fully legitimate, focused on real estate development and investment management. Lucian still had power, still had influence, but it came from money and business acumen instead of fear and violence. The board approved the Henderson project, he told Arya one evening, excitement in his voice. We're breaking ground next month. Affordable housing, mixed-use development, everything we planned. That's wonderful. It's strange. Making money by building things instead of destroying them. Creating value instead of extracting it. He shook his head. Some days I still can't believe this is my life now. Regret it? Not for a second. Look what I have. He gestured around their home, where 3-year-old Isabella was playing with blocks in the corner. A family, a legitimate business, a future that doesn't end with me bleeding out in some alley. When you put it that way, it does sound pretty good. It's everything. He pulled her close. You gave me everything, Arya. We gave each other everything. Isabella ran over, tugging on Lucian's pants. Daddy, play. What are we playing today, princess? Castle. You're the dragon and I'm the princess and Mama's the knight. Why am I the dragon? Because you're big and scary. She said it with such innocent logic that both parents laughed. Fair enough. One scary dragon coming up. He dropped to his hands and knees, roaring playfully while Isabella shrieked and ran to hide behind Arya. Save me, Mama. Arya grabbed a toy sword from the toy box. Fear not, princess. I'll slay this fearsome dragon. They played for an hour. The powerful Lucian Moretti reduced to crawling around his living room, roaring at his giggling daughter while his wife pretended to fight him off. It was ridiculous and perfect, and everything Arya had never known she wanted. Later, after Isabella was in bed, they sat together on their bedroom balcony, looking out over the estate grounds. Do you ever think about how we started? Arya asked quietly. Sometimes, usually late at night when I can't sleep. Lucian's hand found hers. I think about the wine stain, the deal I forced on you, the manipulation. Do you regret it? I regret how I did it. I wish I'd been better, less controlling, But regret the outcome? No. You and Isabella are the best things in my life. I can't regret the path that led me to you. Even though it was wrong? Even though it was wrong. He turned to face her. Does that make me a bad person? Being unable to regret something that hurt you? Arya considered the question. I don't know. Maybe. But I can't regret it either. It gave me my daughter. It gave me you, the you that you've become. The journey was dark, but the destination is beautiful. Dr. Chen would have a field day with that logic. Probably, but it's still true. They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. I have something for you, Lucian said eventually. He pulled a folder from his jacket pocket. I've been working on this for months. Arya opened it, her eyes widening as she read. This is a foundation, in your name, focused on providing medical treatment for families who can't afford it. Specifically cancer treatment. His voice went soft. You told me once you wanted to help people, to make a difference. This is how you can do it. Tears blurred her vision. Lucian, this is incredible. It's endowed with $50 million to start, more as we grow it. You'll run it however you want. I'm just the funding source. Why? Because you deserve to build something of your own. Because I want to help create the world where your story, our story, wouldn't need to happen. Where desperate daughters don't have to make impossible choices. She threw her arms around him, crying into his shoulder. I love you so much. I love you too. More every day. He held her tight. Thank you for saving me, Arya. Thank you for loving me despite everything I am. Thank you for becoming someone worth loving. 5 years after that first encounter in Lucian's office, Arya stood in the estate gardens watching Isabella chase butterflies. Her daughter was 5 now, bright and confident, and everything Arya had hoped she would be. She had Lucian's intensity and Arya's compassion, a combination that would serve her well. Arya's mother sat nearby, playing cards with Mrs. Caldwell, their unlikely friendship one of the unexpected joys of recent years. The cancer remained in remission, and Sarah had taken to calling the estate her second home. Lucian emerged from the house carrying a toddler in his arms, their son Marcus, born 2 years ago, and already showing signs of his father's stubborn determination. Someone missed his mama, Lucian said, transferring the squirming toddler to Arya's arms. Mama, Bella's not sharing. I'll talk to her. Thank you for bringing him out. My pleasure, though I had to promise him ice cream later. Lucian, it's almost dinner time. I know. But those eyes, how am I supposed to say no to those eyes? Arya laughed, kissing her son's cheek. You're hopeless. Hopelessly in love with my family, yes. Isabella ran over, throwing herself at her father's legs. Daddy, can we have a tea party, please? After dinner, princess. But I want one now. Isabella Grace Moretti, what have we discussed about patience? Their daughter's face scrunched up, considering. That good things come to people who wait? Exactly. So if you wait patiently until after dinner, we'll have the best tea party ever. Deal? Deal. She ran off again, her attention already captured by something new. She has you wrapped around her little finger, Arya observed. She has both of us wrapped around her little finger. At least I can admit it. Fair point. They stood together, watching their children play. Their family gathered around them. The estate that had once felt like a prison now felt like home. The man who'd trapped her had become her partner, her love, her best friend. What are you thinking? Lucian asked, his arm sliding around her waist. That life is strange, that 5 years ago I was a maid cleaning your office, terrified and invisible. And now look at us. Look at us, he echoed. Think you made the right choice? Saying yes to my deal? I think I made the only choice I could make at the time. But what we built from that choice, that's what matters. Not how we started, but who we became. Together. Together. She leaned into him, feeling Marcus settle against her shoulder, watching Isabella dance through the garden. Always together. Lucian pressed a kiss to her hair. I love you, Arya Moretti. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for letting yourself be changed. As the sun set over the estate grounds, painting everything in shades of gold and amber, Arya felt something she'd never experienced as that invisible maid scrubbing floors for minimum wage. peace, contentment, the absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The journey had been dark and twisted, the beginning built on manipulation and desperation, but they'd transformed those shadows into something beautiful, a love that had survived deception and learned to choose honesty. A family built on foundations that should have crumbled but instead became stronger for being tested. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was better than that. It was real, messy and complicated and absolutely perfectly theirs. Isabella's laughter rang out across the gardens as she chased another butterfly, and Marcus babbled happily in Arya's arms, and Lucian held them all like they were the most precious things in his world, because they were. And in that moment, surrounded by the life they'd built from impossible circumstances, Arya knew with absolute certainty that she was loved. Not as a possession, not as something owned, but as a partner, an equal, the heart of a man who'd learned that true strength came from vulnerability, that real power came from love. The invisible maid had become a queen. The crime boss had become a father. And together, they'd built an empire not of fear and violence, but of hope and family and second chances. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything.